Lift up your heart and praise. Lift up your hands and praise. Lift up your voice and praise.
And Moshe said, Hear, O Yisrael, Yahweh your Elohim, Yahweh is one. And you shall love Yahweh your Elohim with all your heart, with all your being, and with all your might. And these words which I am commanding you today shall be in your heart, and you shall impress them upon your children, and shall speak of them when you sit in your house and when you walk by the way, when you lie down and when you rise up, and shall bind them as a sign on your hand, and they shall be as frontlets between your eyes, and you shall write them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates. Hag Sameach, everyone. Hag Sameach to everyone that's worshiping with us at home. It's Hag Matzah, the last day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread. And well, here we are on the last day of Feast of Unleavened Bread, and we're praising Yahweh for all that He has done for bringing Yisrael out of Mitzrayim. Amen. Out of the house of bondage, out of the house of slavery. And I'll bet you that most of us would agree that He's brought each and every one of us out of Mitzrayim on a personal level, all your own. Amen. I know that He has for me. How about you, folks at home? What freedom to be released from the house of bondage in which the world wants to hold us. Amen. See, that's one of the things that we've got to talk about today. But as we come out on this side of our own exodus, we need to be mindful not to fall into the same sort of trap in which the children of Israel fell. As we go along, we're bound to run into adversities and hardships for which reliance on Yahweh is essential. Right? Adversities from the adversary. Know what I'm talking about? Always looking for opportunities to fill our heads and our hearts with doubts and temptations which we must overcome. Isn't that right? Isn't that right? All right. Whether subtle or severe, we must remember that we were slaves and desire to never go back. And you know what? That's where the world wants us to go. That the world wants to draw us back in, and we have to be mindful not to let it draw us. Yahweh has a plan for you in your life with blessings of richness, but sometimes the road is hard pressed. Let's look at Numbers chapter 13. We're going to look at a good bit here in Bimidbar chapter 13. I meant to tell you the name of this message is called A Different Spirit. A Different Spirit. We're going to be on page 154 in the 1998 ISR. And we're going to start reading in verse 1. And Yahweh spoke to Moshe, saying, Send men to spy out the land of Canaan, which I am giving to the children of Israel. Send one man from each tribe of their fathers, every one a leader among them. And by the command of Yahweh, Moshe sent from the wilderness of Paran all of them, men who were heads of the children of Israel. Now then it goes through telling all the men's names. We're going to not read those today. Skip down to verse 16. These are the names of the men who Moshe sent to spy out the land. And Moshe called Hoshea, the son of Nun, Yehoshua. And Moshe sent them to spy out the land of Canaan, and said to them, Go up here into the south and go into the mountains and see what the land is like, and the people who dwell in it, whether strong or weak, whether few or many, and whether the land they dwell in is good or evil, whether the cities they inhabit are in camps or strongholds, and whether the land is rich or poor, and whether there are forests there or not. And you shall be strong and bring some of the fruit of the land. Now, the time was the season of the first fruits of grapes. You know, and one thing to think about is, as we come out from where we have been, we don't necessarily always know where we're going. Amen? And we've got to go check out the land to see what's ahead of us. Verse 21. So they went up and spied out the land from the wilderness of Sin as far as Rehob, near the entrance of Hamath. And they went up through the south and came to Hebron, and Achiman, Sheshai, and Talmai, the descendants of Anak, were there. Now Hebron had been built 7 years before Zoan in Mitzrayim. And they came to the Wadi Eshcol and cut down from there a branch with one cluster of grapes, and they bored it between the two of them on a pole, also of the pomegranates and of the figs. I bet they'd never seen a cluster like that before. Amen. And this is what Yahweh is trying to deliver to them. All right. That place was called the Wadi Eshcol because of the cluster which the men of Israel cut down from there. And they returned from spying out the land after 40 days, and they went and came to Moshe and Aharon and all the congregation of the children of Israel in the wilderness of Paran at Kadesh. And they brought back word to them and to all the congregation and showed them the fruit of the land. And they reported to him and said, "We went into the land where you sent us, and truly it flows with milk and honey, and this is its fruit." All right? So it is as Yahweh described, right? All right? They're coming back and they're showing what he said was there. It's there. Verse 28. But the people who dwell in the land are strong, and the cities are walled, very great. And we saw the descendants of Anak there too. The Amalekites dwell in the land of the south, while the Hittites and the Jebusites and the Amorites dwell in the mountains, and the Canaanites dwell by the sea and along the banks of the Jordan. Okay, so they are filled with doubt. All right, they see that it's as Yahweh said, but they doubt that they can do what Yahweh said. You know, seems like one witness should have confirmed that they could have done what they wanted to do, but see, this is because they're leaning on what? Their own understanding and not trusting in Yahweh. That's what's happening right here. But not Caleb. Verse 30. And Caleb silenced the people before Moshe and said, "Let us go up." When? At once. And take possession, for we are certainly able to overcome it. But the men who had gone up with him said, "We're not able to go up against the people, for they are stronger than we." And they gave the children of Israel an evil report of the land which they had spied out, saying, "The land through which we have gone as spies is a land eating up its inhabitants, and all the people whom we saw in it are men of great size. And we saw there the Nephilim, sons of Anak of the Nephilim. And we were like grasshoppers." Where? In our own eyes. We were like grasshoppers in our own eyes, and so we were in their eyes. We were like grasshoppers in our own eyes. All right? See, they're leaning on their own understanding here. We were like grasshoppers in our own eyes. They seem to forget what Yahweh did in Mitzrayim when he brought a plague of locusts on that land. Amen. I'll bet those locusts, those little bitty locusts, they were like locusts in their eyes. You know, they were like grasshoppers in their eyes. I'll bet those locusts didn't say to themselves, "The Mitzrites are people of great size, and we're like grasshoppers in our own eyes, and so we are in theirs." Nope. Those grasshoppers, they swarmed on the land and they took it for themselves. And you know who sent them there? Yahweh. Yahweh sent them there. And guess who sent the Israelites here? Yahweh. All right. Those locusts had a different spirit too, didn't they? They had a different spirit than what these Israelites have. All right, 14 verse 1. And all the congregation lifted up their voices and cried, and the people wept that night. And all the children of Israel grumbled against Moshe and against Aharon, and all the congregation said to them, "If only we had died in the land of Mitzrayim, or if only we had died in this wilderness." And why is Yahweh bringing us to this land to fall by the sword, that our wives and children should become prey? Would it not be better for us to turn back to Mitzrayim? Okay, folks, that's what we've got to make sure we don't do. Amen. When things get a little uncertain and things get a little tough, we've got to avoid saying, I think it'd be better where I came from, because it can get hard. Verse 4, and they said to each other, let us appoint a leader and let us turn back to Mitzrayim. I'm sitting there thinking, after watching the way they treated Moshe, they'd have to appoint one, wouldn't they? Because nobody's going to volunteer. Verse 5, and Moshe and Aharon fell on their faces before all the assembly of the congregation of the children of Israel, and Yehoshua the son of Nun, and Caleb the son of Jephunneh, who were among those who had spied out the land, tore their garments. And they spoke to all the congregation of the children of Israel, saying, the land we passed through to spy out is exceedingly good land. If Yahweh has delighted in us, then he shall bring us into this land and give it to us, a land which is flowing with milk and honey. Only do not rebel against Yahweh, nor fear the people of the land, for they are our bread. Their defense has turned away from them, and Yahweh is with us. Do not fear them. But all the congregation said to stone them with stones. Then the esteem of Yahweh appeared in the tent of meeting before the children of Israel. And Yahweh said to Moshe, how long shall I be scorned by these people? How long shall I not be trusted by them with all the signs which I have done in their midst? Has Yahweh done any signs in your midst? Something to think about. We need to have a different spirit. Verse 12, let me smite them with pestilence and disinherit them and make of you a nation greater and mightier than they. And Moshe said to Yahweh, then the Mitzrites shall hear it, for by your power you brought these people out from their midst. And they shall say to the inhabitants of this land, they have heard that you, Yahweh, are in the midst of these people, that you, Yahweh, are seen eye to eye, and that your cloud stands above them, and you go before them in a column of cloud by day and in a column of fire by night. Now, if you shall kill these people as one man, then the nations which have heard of your report shall speak, saying, because Yahweh was not able to bring this people to the land which he swore to give them, therefore he killed them in the wilderness. And now I pray, let the power of Yahweh be great, as you have spoken, saying, Yahweh is patient and of great kindness, forgiving crookedness and transgression, but by no means leaving unpunished, visiting the crookedness of the fathers on the children to the third and fourth generation. Please forgive the crookedness of this people according to the greatness of your kindness, as you have forgiven this people from Mitzrayim even until now. And Yahweh said, I shall forgive according to your word, but truly, as I live, and all the earth is filled with the esteem of Yahweh, for none of these men who have seen my esteem and the signs which I did in Mitzrayim and in the wilderness, and have tried me now these 10 times, and have disobeyed my voice, shall see the land of which I swore to their fathers, nor any of those who scorned me see it. But my servant Caleb, because he has a what? He's had a different spirit in him, and has followed me completely. See, that's what we want to have. We want to have that spirit right there to follow Yahweh completely. Amen? All right. I shall bring into the land where he went, and his seed shall inherit it. Since the Amalekites and the Canaanites are dwelling in the valley, turn back tomorrow and set out into the wilderness by the way of the Sea of Reeds. I wonder if he thought he was taking them back to Mitzrayim. They started heading that way, you know. And Yahweh spoke to Moshe and to Aharon, saying, how long shall this evil congregation have this grumbling against me? I've heard the grumblings with which the children of Israel are grumbling against me. Say to them, as I live, declares Yahweh, as you have spoken in my hearing, so I do. The carcasses of you who have grumbled against me are going to fall in this wilderness. All of you who were registered according to your entire number from 20 years old and above, none of you except Caleb the son of Jephunneh and Yehoshua the son of Nun shall enter the land which I swore I would make you dwell in. But your little ones, whom you said would become a prey, I shall bring in, and they shall know the land which you have rejected. But as for you, your carcasses are going to fall in this wilderness, and your sons shall be wanderers in the wilderness 40 years, and shall bear your whorings until your carcasses are consumed in the wilderness, according to the number of days in which you spied out the land, 40 days, a day for a year. A day for a year you are to bear your crookedness. 40 years, and you shall know my breaking off. I am Yahweh, I have spoken, I shall do this to all this evil congregation who are meeting against me in the wilderness. They are consumed, and there they die. And the men whom Moshe sent to spy out the land, who returned and made all the congregation grumble against him by bringing an evil report of the land, even those men who brought the evil report about the land, died by the plague before Yahweh. Of those men who went to spy out the land, only YHWH the son of Nun and Caleb the son of Jephunneh remained alive. And when Moshe spoke these words to all the children of Israel, the people mourned greatly. See, they're going to whine either way, aren't they? All right. And they rose up early in the morning, and they went to the top of the mountain, saying, See, we have indeed sinned, but we shall go up to the mountains. We shall go up to the place which Yahweh had spoken of. But Moshe said, Why do you now transgress the command of Yahweh, since it does not prosper? Do not go up, lest you be smitten by your enemies, for Yahweh is not in your midst. Okay, now, that's something that we need to make sure that we do. We need to make sure that we keep Yahweh in our midst. Amen? All right. We can't do that by rejecting Him and saying, you can't do this, you can't do that. Yahweh can do anything that He wants to do, and we can do anything that He wants us to do if we'll just follow Him. All right? Verse 43, But the Amalekites and the Canaanites are there before you, and you shall fall by the sword, because you have turned away from Yahweh. Yahweh is not with you. But they presumed to go to the mountaintop. But neither the ark of the covenant of Yahweh nor Moshe left the camp. So the Amalekites and the Canaanites who dwelt in the mountain came down and smote them and beat them down, even to Hormah. Still leaning on their own understanding. Amen. Perhaps we would do well to trust Yahweh first. Following the world can get you into a world of hurt. See, that's what happened here. They're following the world as they know it. They're following all these other. They're running after the majority. Amen. Running after the majority. Look with me to Matthew 24. We'll be on page 945. Yeah. Page 9. Nope. Page 946. Matthew 24:4. And Yahshua answering said to them, Take heed that no one leads you astray. For many shall come in my name, saying, I am the Messiah, and they shall lead many astray, and you shall begin to hear of fightings and reports of fightings. See that you're not troubled. For these have to take place, but the end is not yet. For nation shall rise against nation, and reign against reign, and there shall be scarcities of food, and deadly diseases, and earthquakes in places, and all these are the beginning of the birth pains. That could be a little troubling in our minds. Amen. Then, verse 9, they shall deliver you up to affliction and kill you, and shall be hated by all nations for my name's sake. So adversity will come even on Yahshua's believers. And then, that's going to cause a lot of people to doubt. It says it right here. Then many shall stumble, and they shall deliver up one another, and shall hate one another. And many false prophets rise up and lead many astray. And because of the increase in lawlessness, the love of many shall become cold. I look around at the world right now. Wonder how much closer we've got to get. But look at this, verse 13. But he who shall have what? Endured to the end shall be saved. And this good news of the reign shall be proclaimed in all the world as a witness to all the nations, and then the end shall come. We don't want to be like those who are led astray and fall away. It's not what we want to do. We don't want to have the spirit of the world. Can I get an amen? Amen. All right. We want to be like Caleb and have a different spirit. 1 John chapter 2. It's going to be on page 1186. We're going to start reading in verse 15. Yours might be a little different. First John chapter 2, verse 15. Do not love the world, nor that which is in the world. Seems pretty plain, doesn't it? If anyone loves the world, the love of the Father is not in him. Because all that is in the world, the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life, is not of the Father, but is of the world. And the world passes away, and the lust of it, but the one doing the desire of Elohim remains forever. That's a form of bondage from which deliverance is needed as well. You know, as a matter of fact, that's probably where a lot of that bondage is that we have been set free from. And it takes a different spirit than that which is in the world. Because the world's going to breed unrighteousness. All right? John 14, let's start reading in verse 1, Big John. John 14, verse 1, page 1037. And it says, this is Yeshua speaking here, let not your heart be troubled. Believe in Elohim. Believe also in me. In my Father's house are many staying places, and if not, I would have told you. I go to prepare a place for you, and if I go and prepare a place for you, I shall come again and receive you to myself, that where I am, you might be too. And where I go, you know, and the way you know. And Taoma, that'd be Thomas, Taoma said to him, Master, we do not know where you are going, and how are we able to know the way? And Yeshua said to him, I am the way and the truth and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. All right, skip down to verse 15. If you love the Father, you shall guard my commands, and I shall ask the Father, and he shall give you another helper to stay with you forever, the Spirit of truth. Hey, that'd be a different spirit. The Spirit of truth, whom the world is unable to receive. Because it does not see him or know him, but you know him, for he stays with you and shall be in you. So, as the Feast of Unleavened Bread concludes, and as we go back to our day-to-day works and obligations, let's remember to walk in the way so that we stay in the truth, so that we might have life, because truth is in the way that leads to life. All right? And may we be like Caleb, who had a different spirit, not like those around him who doubted, but rather the Spirit of truth, which is the world is unable to receive. All right? As we draw nearer to the reign of Elohim and further away from Mitzrayim, may we have a different spirit too. Yevarekeka Yahweh Va'ishmareka Ya'er Yahweh Panavaleka Vikaneka Yasa Yahweh Panavaleka Viasem Laka Shalom. Yahweh bless you and guard you. Yahweh make his face to shine upon you and show favor to you. Yahweh lift up his face upon you and give you his complete contentment.